UFC flyweight contender Matt Schnell back on the show. Thank you so much for the time. How's life right now for you?
Life's great. Life is beautiful. I have a beautiful baby girl. Me and my wife, we moved into a new home in November in Humble, Texas, and yeah, that's where I reside now. So everything's been great. Had a good amount of time to spend with my little girl, and it's been good. It's been good. No complaints.
Man, how is fatherhood treating you, man? Like, is life completely different from what it was last year?
You know, my daughter's been relatively easy. We have to learn to adapt and not sleep sometimes, but other than that, I mean, she's the light of our life, and every single day I wake up, I'm hanging out with her, and right now I'm away from her, and all I can think about is getting back to her. So, I, other than the fact that she is the priority now, life hasn't changed much. Business as usual.
All right, let's talk about the flyweight division. You know what I mean? There was a purge that happened, like maybe I feel like last year or the year before that. And is it kind of confusing to you that they did that and they released some of the really talented flyweights, but now the division's back and it's popping, it's hot. There's like knockouts and submissions, fight of the nights all over the place.
I think they wanted to rebrand it a little bit, and it's unfortunate. Again, I kind of hold on to the idea that guys like Dustin Ortiz and uh, Jared Brooks and some of these talented guys that maybe got their papers, I think we'll see them back at some point, especially if they go out there. A lot of them have fights coming up. They go out and get some wins. We're seeing guys getting signed every day, and it it sure would be nice. But there's been a lot of influx of new talent, and especially with the contender series. I mean, look, a flyweight gets signed every week, so I'm happy about that. And these guys are performing, looking great, and I think they're going to be great additions to the division.
It is definitely great additions, and there's the staples of the division still riding strong, like yourself. Let's go back to your last fight, UFC Busan, a big fight against Pantoja, a guy you know very well. You guys sat in the pocket, man, and threw heat at each other. I was very surprised, man. Was that something that you planned on doing heading into that fight?
No, that wasn't the plan exactly, but sometimes it doesn't go the way that you wanted it to go, and it's unfortunate, and it was kind of a curious thing. That really wasn't the game plan. Things get rough out there, and it was a long year for me, and I've got no excuses. But every time I go out there, I'm gonna scrap. I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna lay it on the line, and it might not always go exactly the way I want it to. But I still have to be able to win those fights, and I think I was there. I was competitive. I let it get away from me a little bit. I got a little emotional, and I think I was right at the point where I was kind of taking back the momentum when I decided to step on the gas pedal, and I got myself in trouble. And that's the game we play. Live by the sword, die by it. And sometimes when you're pushing into a killer, you might get clipped with a hard shot. And Pantoja's a great fighter, and who knows? Who knows what's in store in the future? I've got a tough matchup in front of me. Go get this win, and we'll maybe someday we'll be able to right those wrongs.
Definitely, I'm seeing that matchup coming up, in the future, no doubt. After that, did you just take some time off? Like you said, you had the baby. Did you just kind of train here and there and spend time at home? Is that what was the focus?
Yeah, we went back home, and I've been nursing injuries and kind of took a little time, and then COVID hit. We had my daughter. She was born in February. I got home, at the end of December, and then we kind of enjoyed January, and had to be there for my wife at the end of her pregnancy, and that came along just fine. And baby came, and we've been had to make some adjustments too. Obviously, just like Texas was affected by this pandemic as everywhere else was. Not quite to the degree as the fascist state of California, but Texas still took a hit, and we had to make some adjustments. So it's been a new journey. It's been interesting discovering new things and having to uh, make new relationships with new gyms. And I'm satisfied though. I'm very happy with the work we put in.
As a father, as a parent, what were the paranoia levels like for you? When it first started, when we didn't know what was really happening.
we took all the precautions. Let's put it that way. You know, there's hand sanitizer at about every 5 feet in our house, and even still, you know, with visitors, like my sister babysits my little girl. We also have a babysitter that comes in and babysits, and we ask them to still, you know, take the precautions, wear the mask. We're just not trying to deal with anything. That being said, I am a conservative, and I would like things to get back to normal.
Yeah, everybody. I think everybody loves that. They want that back. At first, you know, I mean, like before the UFC started rolling with shows again, were you worried that, you know, because the other major sports shut down, so were you worried that the UFC might not be back this year?
I was a little concerned there for a second, but you know, Dana's always been kind of pushing the boundary there, and I know it was business as usual there early on, and then I think they said shut it down for a little bit, and maybe a couple weeks went by, and they were back on. Then we were talking about Fight Island, and you know, I don't think that the UFC has gotten the due credit that it deserves. And I mean, these guys have been at the forefront of this whole thing, doing it correctly. And you know, these organizations like the NFL and the NBA that are following suit, they're copying the playbook from the UFC, and I think that shouldn't go unnoticed.
Now, before you get into camp, what was your training like?
It was spotty. It was
Mhm.
spotty at best, you know. But you know, I've got good relationships with various people. I mentioned I've been training with Aaron Phillips. He kind of challenged me somewhere in the pandemic. He was running miles, so that got me off the couch, and you know, every other day, we were running miles and shooting times back and forth to each other, and you know, middle school track star. Yeah, he didn't know I got a track background, so I ringed him up a little bit. But so we were going back and forth. I remember seeing initially like he ran a good time. I was like, shoot, I wonder if I can. So I got on the track. I started getting work in, and I stayed in good shape, and I wasn't exactly coming off the couch when we got back to regular training. So everything's been good.
Is Aaron someone that you've known for a long time, or is this a new relationship?
No, me and Aaron Phillips, we go a ways back. I moved to Lafayette, Louisiana in 2012, and probably roomed with him about a year later. And yeah, we've known each other for a while. Came up together in this game, watched, you know, cornered each other, watched each other do this thing. He cornered me in Korea. Yeah, so he's
Okay.
cornered me in the UFC, and I believe I'll corner him in his next fight. And yeah, we've been at this thing, Twin Dragons, for a long time.
Awesome, Twin Dragons. Hey, I thought you. What about the Korea Brad Pitt?
Both.
All right, all right.
You know, multiple things can be true at once. I'm devilishly good looking, and Aaron Phillips is my less good looking doppelganger.
Okay, all right, all right. I'll have to ask him about that in the future.
Facts.
All right, so you've been going to Sidekick MMA with Aaron, and then you've been at Fortis MMA. And is there any other locations you've been frequenting?
Quite a few places. You know,
Oh,
Houston has a big, vast training system. I've done a lot of work over at Henzo Gracie Lake Houston. I've also gotten quite a bit of work at Heritage Muay Thai, and also the gym that I was teaching at for a couple of years, Gracie Baja West Chase. Also gone over there and gotten strangled because they've got some great grapplers over there. So we've kept it busy. We've kept it diverse, to say the least, and I'm feeling good about things.
are you running your own camp, or who's like the head coach, so to say?
I, I've kind of coached Saif Saud has been the I'm not sure if I pronounced that correctly. Uh, he's been the general of this thing, so we've kind of run everything through him, and it's been great. You know, sometimes you have to subordinate to people, and Coach Safe he's one of those guys that he takes the reins from you, and no questions asked. So it's been good. It's been good, and I trust the man. He's always looked out for me. So it's been an interesting change. And obviously, like I still love my guys in California. I'll be back out there. I'll go back out and train with those guys sometime soon. We just had to make an adjustment because of everything with COVID, and my daughter being born. I couldn't imagine Used to, I'd go away 6 weeks, 5 weeks, be away from my wife, and I love my wife, and that was hard enough. But I ain't spending 6 weeks away from my little girl. No way, no how.
Yeah, no doubt. And safe, yeah, one of the best in the business. Now, your upcoming opponent, Tyson Nam, he called you out after his last win, and you guys. Actually, before I ask you about the matchup, were you flattered or were you surprised?
I don't know how to feel about it because it's one thing when guys are like, you know what, Matt Schnell's tough. I like how he fights. Let's get down. That's flattering. But sometimes I feel like guys say your name because they feel as if you're low hanging fruit. So that's been my approach throughout this camp. That's been in the back of my mind. These guys who come out and they call my name, they ain't calling my name because they want to get into a death battle. They're calling my name because they think they can beat me. So sometimes you get what you want, and I got all the respect in the world for this guy. He has no idea that I've been watching him his entire career because long before I got into this sport, I was a fan of it, and I know who Tyson Nam is. I've always kept an eye on him. I think he's a great fighter, and anytime you step in there against guys that you respect, they tend to bring the best out of you. So that's what I expect.
When you look at his UFC run, just his UFC run, he's only 1-2. So, what are your thoughts on the performances he's had?
He's had some great fights, though. I mean, he stepped in with Sergio on short notice and scrapped, and I think Sergio edged him out in every round. But it was a competitive fight, and he clipped Sergio a few times. Had some good moments. The Kai Kara-France fight was a little closer. I think Kai still kind of edged out each round and was kind of the better competitor on that night. And then what can you say about his last performance? Man, sleep slapped a guy. So a little marshmallow of a guy, but a guy all the same. And he cleaned his clock. And I know that guy came in super soft. I mean, frick. But dude could still kickbox, and you got to give the devil his due. Tyson Nam is a stud. And, I could look at his UFC work and be like, I'm going to beat this guy. I think I'm better than Sergio. I think I'm better than Kyle. But come on now. Let's look at this man's whole body of work. Yeah. He's got some big wins. He's done some big things. And that's what excites me. I want to get out here and test myself against guys who have done it at the highest level, and Tyson Nam is that.
Yeah, it almost seems like he his performances have elevated, every single time he comes up. So you're basically getting the best version of Tyson. So if you beat him, it's the best Tyson.
Yeah, and he's riding some momentum coming off his first UFC win. I think he's feeling good about things. That's okay. That's okay. I'm one of the best. I'm one of the best. Period. And I'm gonna go out there and put these hands on this young man.
Now, when you stack your skills against his skills, what do you see?
It's hard to say. He's pretty sharp on the feet. Throws big shots. There's no place in this game that I'm not competent. There's no place this fight can take place in which I don't have an answer. So, it typically when I fight these guys, they have advantages over me. There is no doubt. But I like my chances in a fist fight, and we're gonna get out there, bite down, throw some leather around, and sort this thing out. Tyson Nam, a lot of fights, never been submitted. He doesn't seem like he gets into many grappling exchanges. So I kind of expect a kickboxing match a little bit. It seems like that's the way things go for him. So let's go. I'm game.
The ground, it has to go there. Like you said, it's a fight. You know what I mean? So do you see big holes in there?
I don't. I've ran back a lot of his fights and watched a lot of them. He's fought some good grapplers, and a guy that just seems to be fall into the right positions and end up back on his feet. And I know he trained with some high level grapplers at one point because he has great. His takedown defense is pretty sharp, and he's got a good reaction to the level change. So I expect a competitive fight, a guy who has a full gamut of understanding of the game, much like myself. And it's up to me to find the places where maybe I'm a little better and keep the fight in those places. So,
all right. Earlier we talked about the rebranding of the division. Now you got Cody Garbrandt coming down to fight for the title, and I think that a lot of people they kind of understand the logic, and then other people are offended. But you are in a unique position because you're a contender in the division. What are your thoughts on Cody Garbrandt dropping down?
I think it's great for the division. And to be honest, like people are silly and they think crazy things about this division. Cody Garbrandt's always been a flyweight, is a little known secret that people don't get. And for a long time, the bantamweight division was riddled with flyweights, and half of the top 15 were flyweights. So people who think that these little guys can't compete at the highest level, they're crazy. Cody Garbrandt, look at his whole body of work. I think the guy deserves it. If he wants to come down to flyweight, former champion, sometimes things go the way they go. And I think, listen, the matchmakers, Dana, these guys know what they're doing. They're not going to let any nonsense go down. And I think Garbrandt is well deserving of a shot at the belt. But we'll see how it goes. I know Figueiredo's a big hitter. I like that fight for Garbrandt, honestly. I do. But cutting an extra 10 pounds is always a little extra taxing, and we'll see how he looks. I expect he'll look as good as he always does, and it'll be a motivating factor to have a guy like Cody at the top of the division. Perhaps it'll be it'll light a fire under me, and we got to get this game right if we're going to take out a guy like Cody Garbrandt one day.
We almost know what to expect from Figueiredo, but it's which Cody are we gonna get in this fight? Is it gonna be the smart, calculated Cody, or is it gonna be the one that's gonna go in there and get in a firefight? And we know that if that happens, Figueiredo has his chances. What do you see most likely the outcome of this fight?
I'd like to see Cody keep it clean, and I think he'll be less apt to get emotional because, well, I mean, he had no reason to get emotional against Pedro Munoz, though. It's hard when you clip somebody. Like I can relate. I can relate. Sometimes, fighting's so interesting because it's so self-expressive, and I don't know if I've said that on this show before. I say it a lot. Fighting, oftentimes you're out there and you are fighting like who you are, and just as it's hard to fight off impulses in day-to-day life, it is equally as hard to fight off those impulses in a fist fight, and especially when you taste it and you see it and you're like, let me go get this guy. I know, I fought 40 fights. Now at this point, I have 40 sanctioned fights, and oftentimes when I was young, I could live off emotion. I could bite down, I could swing people down, and at the end of the day, I'd be the winner. But here at the highest level, it's just not the case. And if you get emotional and if you get out of sorts, you're just as likely to get yourself in trouble. So, yeah, we'll see. It depends on if Cody can stay focused. 25 focused minutes from Cody Garbrandt, I think he gets it done.
Yeah, that Dominic Cruz fight, we seen him do it.
The best.
All right, man. September 12th, Matt's back in action, UFC Las Vegas. Thank you so much, man, for the time. It's always good catching up with you. Good luck on fatherhood and everything, man. All the best.
Hey, Daddy Danger about to father this whole division.
Hey guys, Sasha Platnikoff here, letting you know to tune in to SCMP Post Fight for all your weekly martial arts news.